Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're very lucky today to have a very interesting guest. His name is Sam Anthony, and he is starting a entrepreneurial endeavor relating very much to the news media. In fact, it's called news media, right?
Well, your news and your news media group, right?
Right. Okay. And of course, now with the kicking out of Tucker Carlson from Fox and the banishment of many people, even unimportant people like me, I get banned. Um, it's just unbelievable. But Sam Anthony is trying to come up with solutions for these things. So let's hear your solutions, Sam.
Well, thank you for having me on. Glad to be here. And we all know that the mainstream media has been lying to us, right? I don't think it's any secret. I would assume your audience believes that as well, correct?
Yeah, I'd say.
I'd say, right. So, um, the the problem we face, well, first of all, let me start by saying, as we had talked earlier, they call it legacy media for a reason. Okay. It's eventually going to be gone. It's an antiquated product. It's like the horse and buggy. It won't exist in the future. It'll be replaced by something else. And everything always is. Just think about history and how things have went along and what they used to use versus what they use now. So, currently the when I got into this business, and by the way, I'm entrepreneurial, but you think, I started this 22 years ago, I think, as an idea. And I've been doing this that long. It's been a long time, a real long time. But it's been our belief that the print newspaper was going to go the way of the dinosaur, eventually going to be replaced with online. And if I would have told you that 20 years ago, you would have told me I was crazy. Nobody bought that story. Nobody. And today nobody doesn't buy it. Now everybody knows it. But what I never imagined was that they would sink as low as they did and start lying to the American public. I mean, basically, the media is now the arm of the Democratic Party, right? And then you have the tech giants that are pushing their same agenda. I never thought that was ever coming. I mean, everybody knows politicians have to lie to you. They have to tell you what you want to hear in order to get elected, right? But the media is supposed to call them out. And now we're finding out they're not. I mean, they've picked a side, they picked a horse, and they're running with it. Now, here's the good news: the legacy media will be gone. Okay. I can assure you of that. It's an antiquated product. It's going to be replaced with something online. Everybody knows that everything's moving online, but for the viewers who don't know, nothing local on the web works, meaning you can't have, like, the Chicago Tribune can never, turn off his printing press and go online. There's just not enough money in web ads. And that's why Facebook wouldn't work if it was just for one city. So all digital properties, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Amazon, eBay, they're all global. So if I had to place a bet, the future of news is going to be one global media giant by zip code. So whoever runs that is going to be a very powerful person. It's going to allow the public to interact and post their own news, views, opinions, and classifieds. And you'll have millions of journalists that write stories on this website, and their monetization model will be very similar to YouTube, where they get a percentage of the ad revenue that appears around their content, and advertisers will be able to log in and buy their own ads and target it around the content of relevance. You buy that story, Bob?
Well, I question who that person would be.
Well, right. Because that guy has
I
a
got a
lot of power.
feeling it's not going to be me.
Yeah. Well, I'm the only player in this space, but if you forget me and somebody beats me to the punch, that will be the news of the future. It will be what I just described. And it's not too far fetched. I mean, it's basically the same thing as Facebook, but Facebook produces different content. So in my business, I'm a content distribution platform. I'm a daily newspaper. When you log in, your provider tells me where you live, right down to the zip code. So I'm in every zip code in the United States. Now, you owned a newspaper, so you have knowledge of how the newspaper business works. So do you know how people that have news will send what's called a press release to the media? So if you're a nonprofit, you're having an event in New York, you send a press release to the media there. If you live in Phoenix,
And as long as it's a left-wing press release, the media doesn't even check the veracity of it.
And not at all, right? But I'm talking about simple stuff, like if there's an event or churches might have some bake sale or something like that, right? They send a press release to the media. What news organizations are is they're aggregators of information, and then they decide what they're going to air or publish. Everything goes to them. So what your news is we're an aggregator everywhere. And we have the ability to print it all because there's no cost, and we can organize it by subject and geography. So I can make a story like your kid's Little League game appear in the sports section in a city, while the high school football game, still sports news, is going to run to a broader geography. Let's say the market, which could be by TV DMA. And then I could have the Monday Night Football game, still sports news, running national. So what I am is a content distribution platform with mega scale. And what we're doing is bringing all the world's information under one umbrella and creating one uniform media. Make sense?
What is the difference between what you're doing and things like the Epic Times or Newsmax and other platforms?
So the Epic Times is a print product. I know they have an online. They're not in every zip code in the United States, and they don't allow the public to interact and post their own news, views, opinions, and classifieds. What we are is a social media news platform, a cloud-based social media news platform that allows everybody to be able to contribute and everybody to have a voice. Bob, is there anybody out there that believes in freedom of the press anymore? Probably not, right?
Let's see. Bobby Kennedy, me, you. I'm
Well,
running
we
out of
are,
fingers.
but we're the ultimate in freedom of speech. What we do is put the power of the press back in the hands of the people and give them their freedom back so everybody can have a voice. Now, what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of fluff stuff, a lot of the press releases that come out from the nonprofits and stuff like that, and PR firms. What you're not going to get is the hard news, like the bank robbery, the car crash, the investigative stuff. You're going to need a pay model for them. So what we did was we created a pay model for news reporters. And I think I told you this earlier on LinkedIn. If you have LinkedIn Navigator and you search freelance journalists in the United States, there's almost 500,000 people that are out of work and they're looking for jobs. And so what we do is we employ them. They become what we call citizen journalists, and they write a story. We monetize them. They share it on social media, and every time their article opens, they get a percentage of the ad revenue that appears around their article. It's just that simple. And we also included video and audio podcasters. So a podcast like this would go in a specific category of our website. And what we would do is publish that. And when you shared this on your social media pages, every time it opened, you would get a percentage of the ad revenue that appeared around your content. Now, it's really cool for people who are on Rumble, simply because if you're monetized on Rumble, it's basically taking the same piece of content and double dipping. So you get twice the revenue off of it.
A lot of people are interested in knowing what your opinion is, being somebody who's been in this for quite a while. What is your opinion about why Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox?
Because he was pushing a narrative that they didn't want it. They didn't want the audience to know. That's my opinion on it. I think that they want to control the narrative. And I think by getting rid of him, I also believe that they were pressured, which I'm sure they were, most likely from the pharmaceutical companies, because he was bashing them and saying, you guys are pushing a product that you know is killing people and nobody's saying anything about it. So my guess is they probably told Fox, if you don't pull this guy, we're going to pull our ads.
Yeah, that's my conclusion because
It's common sense.
when I
Okay.
saw it, when I saw Tucker saying this, particularly a few days before, when I heard what he said to, I think it was to Bobby Kennedy, I'm not sure who it was to, but he said some really accurate things about the drug companies, and boy, that was it. That's either that or a big coincidence,
Or a big coincidence. It's most likely. And remember this, the average audience on Fox is 68 years old. Okay. So, the demographic for the drug companies is going to be the older generation, and they're the ones keeping the whole thing afloat. And they're the ones that call the purse, that have the purse strings that are calling all the shots. So they probably told them, if we pull the ads, you guys are out of business. So it was probably a business decision to do it. I wouldn't even be surprised if the pharmaceutical company picked up the tab on Dominion just to make it go away. Remember, how much money did they make last year?
Oh,
Okay. I mean, this is
the,
petty change.
the market cap of Pfizer, I believe, went from 40 billion to 90 billion because of COVID.
Right.
That's quite a move.
So think of the money they're spending, because anytime you're watching Fox, all you see is pharmaceutical ads for the
Yeah.
most part. Okay. They're the ones spending all the money. If they pull the plug, it's over. This is just logical. And so most likely they probably even said, we'll pick up the tab here if you get rid of him. So now they can control the narrative, control what's being said, and they're able to get their message across. Take more shots, take more vaccines.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
good for you. You know?
I'm I'm friendly with Bobby Kennedy's publisher, who owns Skyhorse Publishing Company,
Mhm.
and they published Kennedy's book, The Real Anthony Fauci, which sold over 1 million copies on Amazon, despite the media refusing to cover the book. And also Robert Malone's book, Government, My Lies My Government Told Me. And I was talking to him about this, and he's a guy you should probably get to know because these are real free speech guys, and that's the key. I mean, I'm not interested in suppressing the speech of communists, even though I'm definitely the antithesis of communism. But I don't stop anybody from speaking, and I think there is appeal that because the old line Democrats, the Kennedy type of Democrats, there's not many of them left, but those that are left are going to be appealed to through free speech because they are people. If you remember the Vietnam War, you had the Mario Savio protest, the free speech movement on campuses. All those guys who were for free speech are now fascists trying to censor everybody. So your appeal could really be across the board from Kennedy Democrats. And don't forget, people talk about the Democrats. The Republican Party is just as guilty. There's a
Completely.
few stalwarts in the Republican Party, guys like Thomas Massey and maybe Biggs from Arizona. But the majority of the Republicans are no different than the socialists. They're all in the same party, the Uniparty. In fact, Carol Quigley, who was Clinton's mentor at Georgetown, wrote a whole book called Tragedy and Hope about how both parties were taken over when Woodrow Wilson ran against Taft, and they got Roosevelt to run as a third party candidate on the Bull Moose Party because they knew that would guarantee the globalist Wilson winning the election. So you really can appeal across the board. Now, how are you raising money for this?
Well, we generate ad revenue and we're sustained by ad revenue. Now, in order to do this across the globe, it's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, you're looking at something that's Google big. Okay. Remember, I don't know the exact number, but I think I only deal with the United States for now, but for me to open up another country is literally a zip code table. Okay. Boom. And it's up and running. There are either 2 or 3 million out of work journalists across the globe. So as we start to scale this and build it up, we'll start opening up other countries, but it's going to start, it costs a lot of money to do that. But, I already have plans in place. The website we're using right now is a beta. If I were to run an ad on LinkedIn to those 460,000 news reporters that we're hiring, I guarantee you I could pick up 150,000. It would put me out of business. I wouldn't even be able to handle forget the approval process of 100,000 articles, but now the amount of traffic it would drive would be astronomical. So we really need to beef up for this. And, all that's in play right now as we speak. I mean, we're in the process of building a platform that's going to be able to be scalable across the globe that can handle millions of readers a day. But it's the timing couldn't be better for us, Bob. The timing couldn't be better. And I agree with you. We appeal to both sides because, the the liberals, the reason they're censoring everybody, deplatforming, demonetizing them is really simple because they don't have an argument to your answer. So it's easier just to shut you off. In our case, we won't deplatform or demonetize any of those people. We have a voice where it's free speech as long as you play by our rules, meaning, if you could write a story about why socialism is better for the US population, by all means, it's called an opinion, write it. We don't care. Let the public decide. When it comes to the news reporters, I have two rules, and those rules would be, don't put your opinion in the article, just put out the facts. We don't care about what people's opinions are. Here's the story. Here's how it is. And if you don't like it, tough, right? Go somewhere else. And then if you get it wrong, tell the American public we got this one wrong. That's it. As I explained to people about this, I have never run a news organization. I am not in the business of news. What I am is the best description would be, let's say me and you built a football stadium, but you and I don't play in the NFL. But we bring in the teams, which are the draw, and then people come outside because they want to watch the teams, and we sell them the tickets and the popcorn and the beers and the Cokes, right? I don't need to know anything about this business. What we have is a playing field which has a revenue model that could support all of them. Millions of journalists and millions of advertisers could advertise, and they could target it right around the content of relevance as granular as one zip code or as broad as nationwide. Ads pull on a best bid basis. So the more granular you are, the higher the rate is. But that means the journalists make more money. So what I see happening is at full scale, once you've aggregated all the content, you've got all the readers, the game's over. So we're just giving the people who have lost their jobs a new place to go. And this will ultimately end up becoming the next mainstream media. It's either this or somebody else that builds it exactly like this.
As further evidence for what you're saying, lies the success of people like Matt Taibbi. Matt Taibbi would not be accepted anymore by the left where he comes from because he's got a fantastic Substack site where he puts out independent journalism. And he's probably hated more by the left than he is by the right, even though he's a leftist. Another guy who has a fantastic following is Jimmy Dore, the comedian who was a big Bernie Sanders supporter. Now he's turned on the left. He's still a person of the left, but he calls out the hypocrisy of the left more than anything else. And also you have Glenn Greenwald, who was involved with Edward Snowden and revealing his whistleblowing story, as well as Assange, Julian Assange, who Trump said should be executed, if you recall.
I do recall that.
Yeah. So, the people who think Trump is right wing, they never met me, that's for sure.
I could see, you being in the media business, all news organizations get tips, correct?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Could be in Nebraska or Chicago or Phoenix. They all get tips. And then it's up to them to decide if they want to air them or publish them, And so in our case, we're the media everywhere. So as we scale and get this bigger, I'm guessing there's 20,000 cities. So obviously some cities are bigger than others, but I'm guesstimating we could have roughly 5 people a city on average, meaning New York might need 500. Okay. But some small town might need 1 or none, because it's small, but I'm guesstimating we'll need about 100,000 news reporters to cover local news across the United States, as well as all the national news, international news. I mean, we could easily see this at 120, 130,000 news reporters, not to mention all the different podcasters. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people all aggregated to one place, creating one uniform media. And my guess would be this would end up becoming the next WikiLeaks, simply because, we can handle all the content coming.
I know you have a meeting coming up, so I want to make sure we get this in. The people out there listening to you, how can they follow you? How can they get involved? How can they invest? what avenues can they take to be involved in this?
So our domain is yournews.com. If you're an out of work journalist and you're looking to be monetized, or if you've got a podcast and you're looking to be monetized, you need to reach out to me, sam@yournews.com, and let me know that. From the reader standpoint, I mean, the bigger our audience grows, the more ad revenue we attract. And one of the content advisors we have on our site, Ann Vandersteel, sent me over 230 conservative podcasters. She goes, "You got to call every one of these and bring them on," right? So collectively, Bob, those people are probably bigger than Tucker. And so as you start bringing, I mean, nobody says no to me. I'm offering money. You want to get money for your cut? Yeah. How do we do it? Okay. So here's how it works. This is what you do. So it's easy to grow this. Traffic is easy for me. We have Quint Capital out of New York. They're out of the Helmsley building, and they're doing our Series A round of funding. But one of the things that they want to do that they're getting ready for is, remember, Trump was doing a SPAC, special purpose acquisition company. So one of their thoughts is they want to do a SPAC with us. And so they're getting geared up for that. That will probably, keep in mind, nothing has happened yet, but I talk to them daily. So this is their plan. They're working on putting me in a SPAC. That whole process takes 12 to 18 months before
Those out there, SPAC means special acquisition vehicle. I just want to make sure the audience is
right. It's a way to go public, like Trump did a SPAC, but the SEC has not approved it yet. Rumble did it via SPAC. What's his name? Michael Seifert's doing one right now with Public Square. They're doing a SPAC. I most likely will do one, which will be a SPAC, but though they take time, you to get those things all approved. And Trump hasn't even got his approved yet because it's Trump. They're just holding that whole thing up. There's no reason to do it other than they just want to be a thorn in his side.
Yeah, what's amazing about Trump is there are so many legitimate criticisms I could make, and yet they make so much crap out. And that's why I respect guys like Matt Taibbi, who doesn't like Trump, but he said that this Russian story is just crap, total made up crap. There's enough real stuff to print than to make up stuff.
You talking about the Hillary Clinton dossier?
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, running up debt. Now that's something I can criticize because that's the numbers I can show you. But Russian spies and Russian meddling in the elections and all that nonsense, and then making the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was actually true, and turning that into a right-wing conspiracy theory.
Exactly. And that's why people don't believe him anymore. By the way, did you know that Hillary Clinton was fined for that dossier?
Yes.
Okay, very few people know that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, she was fined for doing it, yet mainstream media said nothing.
Doesn't matter. She could be executed for doing it. They wouldn't report it.
They wouldn't report it. That's exactly correct. Because that just means we've been lying to you the whole time. So this is why nobody believes mainstream media anymore, and they're seeking out alternative news. And what I'm doing is putting that together for them, right down to somebody being able to publish their kids a Little League game, which is cool. Now the public can actually contribute in the news. You don't have to rely on what they say. This is the ultimate in freedom of speech, Bob.
Yeah, well, these days, the only ones giving you that kind of freedom, and even then, I mean, the local newspapers, like here in Great Neck, they'll report on your kid's home run in a Little League game. But they banned me in a local newspaper for criticizing the schools because the school just put on a drag queen performance for the public school students, and I criticized it. So I'm a homophobe. If you don't think that children should be cavorting around with people who look like prostitutes, you're a homophobe.
Bob, go to my site, yournews.com, click the submit your news button, create an account, and we'll publish that stuff. And then you could send it to them. You could share it to them. Go here. I don't need you anymore. Basically, what this does is bypass mainstream media. There's no need for them. Thank you. We have a voice.
You got it. Well, I thank you for being here. And you guys out there, get involved. And if you have something to contribute, including monetarily, get involved, because there could be major money in this. And I thank you very much, and hopefully I'll speak to you again. And if I'm in Florida next time, I'll give you a ring.
You got it. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.